Silent Thunder, the ship that broke the silence. The crystal spires of the Corvanian capital world gleamed like frozen lightning against the purple sky. For 2,500 years, no enemy had dared approach the heart of the Empire. The massive orbital defense platforms that surrounded the planet had never fired a shot in anger. They existed purely as symbols of power, reminders to the galaxy that the Corvanian Empire was eternal and unopposed. Emperor Draxus stood in his throne room, his towering form casting shadows across the polished obsidian floor. His 4 arms were folded behind his back as he gazed out at the peaceful sky. The Empire controlled 15 star systems, ruled over 43 different species, and commanded the largest military force in known space. Nothing could threaten his dominion. That certainty shattered when Fleet Admiral Korath burst through the chamber doors. "Your Imperial Majesty," Korath said, his voice tight with concern. "We have a situation in the Nexus system. An unknown vessel has appeared without any hyperspace signature. Our sensors detected it 3 hours ago." Emperor Draxus turned slowly, his golden eyes narrowing. "Impossible. Every ship in the galaxy uses hyperspace drives. There is no other method of faster-than-light travel." "That's what we thought, Your Majesty," Korath replied, activating his holographic display. "But this vessel simply materialized in empty space. No energy discharge, no spatial distortion, nothing. It's as if it was always there, and we just started seeing it." The hologram showed a sleek vessel hanging in the void. It was smaller than a Corvanian cruiser, but its design was unlike anything in the Imperial database. The hull was smooth and dark, with no visible weapons or engines. It looked almost organic, as if it had been grown rather than built. "What species built this thing?" the Emperor demanded. "Unknown, Your Majesty. The ship isn't responding to our standard communication frequencies. We've tried every known language and protocol. It just sits there, watching us." Emperor Draxus studied the image with growing unease. In his 800 years of rule, he had never encountered anything the Empire couldn't identify or understand. Every species followed predictable patterns. Every technology had logical explanations. This vessel defied everything he knew about galactic civilization. "Deploy the investigation fleet," he ordered. "I want that ship scanned, boarded, and its crew brought before me. If they refuse to surrender, destroy them." 3 light years away, Captain Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, watching the Corvanian fleet approach. Her ship was humanity's first venture into the wider galaxy, built using technology that had taken 50 years to develop. The crew of 200 were volunteers, explorers and soldiers who had agreed to leave Earth behind and venture into the unknown. "Captain, we're detecting 47 vessels moving to intercept," reported Commander Jake Chun from the tactical station. "They're big, ma'am. Each one is about 4 times our size." Elena nodded calmly. Earth's long-range scouts had been observing the Corvanian Empire for a decade, studying their tactics and technology. The aliens always followed the same pattern when encountering unknown vessels. First investigation, then demands for surrender, finally overwhelming force. "Dr. Mitchell, have you made any progress with their language?" Elena asked. "I believe." "So, Captain," replied Dr. Sarah Mitchell from the communication station, "their linguistic patterns are complex, but I think I can establish basic communication. They seem to be trying multiple frequencies and protocols. Good. Let's see what they want." The main view screen flickered to life, showing a bridge filled with tall, 4-armed aliens in elaborate uniforms. The central figure stepped forward, his golden eyes blazing with authority. "Unknown vessel. This is Fleet Admiral Korath of the Corvanian Imperial Navy. You have entered restricted space without authorization. Identify yourself immediately and prepare to be boarded." Elena took a step forward, her hands clasped behind her back. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Earthship Prometheus. We come in peace, seeking to establish diplomatic relations with your empire." The alien admiral's eyes widened in surprise. "You speak our language perfectly. How long have you been studying us?" "Long enough to know that you rule through fear and conquest," Elena replied calmly. "We're here to offer an alternative." Koreth's face darkened with anger. "You dare to judge the Empire? You will surrender immediately, or we will destroy you. Where you stand." "I'm afraid I can't do that, Admiral. We didn't come this far to bow to another tyrant." The transmission cut off, leaving the bridge of the Prometheus in tense silence. Elena turned to her crew, seeing the determination in their faces. These men and women had trained for this moment, had prepared for the possibility that humanity's first contact with an alien empire might not be peaceful. "All hands to battle stations," she announced. "Remember, we're not here to start a war. We're here to show the galaxy that there's another way." Admiral Koreth stared at the blank screen, his mind racing. The alien captain had spoken with confidence that bordered on arrogance. Her small ship was outnumbered 47-1, yet she showed no fear. Either she was insane, or she knew something he didn't. "All ships assume attack formation," he ordered. "Target their engines and weapons. I want them disabled, not destroyed. The Emperor will want to question them personally." The Corvanian fleet moved into position, their massive vessels forming a sphere around the human ship. It was a formation designed to prevent escape, to trap the enemy in a web of overlapping fire zones. No vessel had ever survived being caught in such a trap. On the Prometheus, Elena watched the alien fleet surround her ship. The Corvanians were skilled tacticians, she had to admit. Their formation was textbook perfect, designed to maximize firepower while minimizing the risk of friendly fire. But they were fighting by rules that no longer applied. "Commander Chun, status report," she called. "All systems green, Captain. The quantum phase drive is online and stable. Defensive systems are charged and ready. We're as ready as we'll ever be." Elena felt a surge of pride. The Prometheus represented humanity's greatest achievement, a ship built using principles that the galaxy had never seen. Earth scientists had taken a different path than the rest of the galaxy, developing technology based on quantum mechanics and dimensional theory. The result was a vessel that could do things that should have been impossible. "Dr. Mitchell, open a channel to the entire Corvanian fleet," Elena ordered. "Channel open, Captain." Elena's voice carried across space, reaching every ship in the alien fleet. "This is Captain Vasquez. I'm going to give you one chance to reconsider. We didn't come here to fight, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. Stand down, and we can discuss this like civilized beings." Admiral Koreth listened to the transmission with growing rage. The alien captain was trying to negotiate from a position of weakness, attempting to bluff her way out of an impossible situation. It was insulting. "All ships open fire. Disable that vessel." The Corvanian fleet unleashed a coordinated barrage. Plasma cannons erupted in brilliant flashes of light. Particle beams lanced across space like spears of pure energy. Quantum torpedoes shrieked toward their target, their warheads designed to tear through the strongest armor. The attack was devastating, enough firepower to destroy a small moon. It struck the human ship from every angle, lighting up space with the fury of 47 warships firing at once. When the light faded, the Prometheus was gone. Admiral Koreth allowed himself a smile of satisfaction. The alien captain had been brave, but bravery meant nothing against superior firepower. Her ship was nothing more than atoms scattered across space. "Sir?" his sensor officer called out nervously. "I'm reading some kind of energy signature off our port bow." The main view screen shifted to show empty space. Then, like a ghost materializing from another dimension, the human ship appeared. It hung in the void, exactly where it had been before the attack, completely undamaged. Asterisk. Impossible, Korath whispered. Nothing could survive that barrage. Captain Vasquez appeared on the communication screen, her expression calm but deadly serious. Admiral, you just attacked a vessel flying under a flag of truce. In human culture, that's considered an act of war. How are you still alive? Korath demanded. Because we learned something your empire never did. We learned that there are more dimensions than the 3 you can see. Your weapons can't hit what exists in a different phase of reality. Elena turned to her tactical officer. Commander Chun, target their flagship. 1 shot. Center mass. Target locked, Captain. Fire. The Prometheus unleashed a weapon that defied everything the Corvanian Empire knew about physics. A beam of pure quantum energy lanced across space, existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. It struck Admiral Koraith's flagship with the force of a collapsing star. The massive Corvanian vessel, protected by shields that had never failed, simply ceased to exist. The quantum beam tore through its hull at the molecular level, breaking down the bonds that held matter together. In less than a second, the Empire's most powerful warship became a cloud of subatomic particles. The remaining 46 ships of the Corvanian fleet hung in stunned silence. Their most advanced vessel, equipped with the strongest defenses in the galaxy, had been destroyed by a single shot from an enemy they couldn't even hit. This is Captain Vasquez, Elena announced to the alien fleet. We came here in peace, but you chose war. Now you've seen what happens when you threaten humanity. Stand down or share your admiral's fate. Emperor Draxus received the news of his fleet's defeat with disbelief that gradually transformed into rage. In his throne room, surrounded by his advisors, he struggled to comprehend what had happened. You're telling me that 1 alien ship destroyed Admiral Korath's flagship and forced the entire investigation fleet to retreat? He demanded. Yes, Your Imperial Majesty, replied the trembling communications officer. The surviving ships report that the enemy possesses weapons and defenses beyond our understanding. They recommend immediate withdrawal from the Nexus system. The Emperor's 4 fists clenched in fury. For 2,500 years, the Empire has been supreme. No species has ever challenged our authority and survived. I will not allow some upstart aliens to change that now. He turned to his military advisors. Mobilize the core fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every warrior we have. I want that alien vessel turned into cosmic dust. The core fleet was the Empire's ultimate weapon, 200 of the most powerful warships ever built. They had conquered entire star systems, had crushed rebellions that spanned multiple worlds. The fleet had never been defeated, had never even been seriously threatened. Your Majesty, one of his advisors said carefully, perhaps we should attempt to negotiate. This new species clearly possesses advanced technology. They might be willing to share it in exchange for silence, the Emperor roared. The Empire does not negotiate with inferiors. We conquer, we rule, we dominate. That is the natural order of things. The core fleet began assembling at the edge of the Nexus system, a massive armada that represented the full might of the Corvanian Empire. From across 15 star systems, the most powerful warships in the galaxy converged on a single point in space. Captain Vasquez watched the enemy fleet gather through the Prometheus's advanced sensors. Her crew worked with quiet efficiency, preparing for the battle that would determine humanity's place in the galaxy. Captain, I'm reading 200 vessels, Commander Chun reported. They're bringing everything they have. Elena nodded grimly. The Corvanians had decided to settle this with overwhelming force, just as Earth's intelligence had predicted. The Empire had ruled for so long that they couldn't conceive of any other solution to their problems. "Dr. Mitchell, record a message for transmission to Earth," Elena ordered. "Tell them that first contact has been established and that we're about to find out if our technology is as good as we think it is." The stage was set for a battle that would reshape the galaxy. On one side, an empire that had ruled for millennia, bringing their most powerful fleet to crush a single enemy. On the other, a small human ship carrying technology that defied the laws of physics as the galaxy understood them. The outcome would determine not just the fate of humanity, but the future of every species that had ever dreamed of freedom from the Empire's tyranny. The Empire's reckoning, when giants fall. The core fleet of the Corvanian Empire stretched across space like a constellation of death. 200 warships arranged in perfect formation, each one a monument to the Empire's military might. At the center of this armada sat the Emperor's personal flagship, the Eternal Dominion, a vessel so massive it dwarfed entire space stations. Emperor Draxus stood in the command center of this flagship, his golden eyes fixed on the distant speck that was the human ship. Around him, his most trusted advisors and generals waited in tense silence. The bridge hummed with the energy of thousands of weapon systems charging to full power. "Report," the Emperor commanded. "All ships are in position, Your Imperial Majesty," reported Fleet Commander Vextar. "The alien vessel appears to be alone. No reinforcements detected within sensor range." "Foolish," Draxus muttered. "They must know they cannot survive against the entire core fleet. Perhaps they will surrender without a fight." General Korthik, the Empire's chief military strategist, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, our intelligence indicates that this species possesses technology we don't understand. The destruction of Admiral Korath's flagship was accomplished with a single shot. We should proceed with caution." The Emperor's eyes flashed with anger. "Caution? We are the Corvanian Empire." "We do not." "Show caution to lesser species. Signal the fleet. All ships are to open fire on my command." 3 light-years away, Captain Helene Vasquez stood in the cramped bridge of the UES Prometheus. Her ship seemed impossibly small compared to the massive alien fleet, but Elena felt no fear. She had trained for this moment her entire life, had prepared for the possibility that humanity's first contact with the Galactic Empire might require force. "Captain, long-range sensors are picking up massive energy readings from the enemy fleet," reported Commander Jake Chun. "They're charging every weapon they have." "Expected," Elena replied calmly. "The Corvanians have ruled through overwhelming force for 2,500 years. They can't conceive of any other way to solve their problems." Dr. Sarah Mitchell looked up from her console, her face pale with concern. "Captain, I've been analyzing their fleet composition. Those aren't just warships out there. Some of those vessels are planet killers, designed to destroy entire worlds from orbit." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. The intelligence reports from Earth's long-range scouts had mentioned the Empire's tendency toward extreme measures, but seeing it firsthand was different. These aliens weren't just conquerors. They were genocidal maniacs who would destroy entire civilizations rather than risk losing control. "Then we stop them here," Elena said firmly. "If we let them reach Earth, they'll turn our homeworld into a cinder." The bridge fell silent as the crew absorbed the weight of their situation. They were 200 people on a single ship, facing an empire that had crushed dozens of civilizations. The odds were impossible, but that had never stopped humans before. "All stations, prepare for full combat operations," Elena announced. "Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for every species that has ever suffered under the Empire's rule." Emperor Draxus raised his hand, ready to give the order that would destroy the alien ship. The core fleet waited in perfect formation, 200 vessels ready to unleash death upon a single enemy. It would be the most one-sided battle in galactic history. Fire, he commanded. The core fleet opened fire with a barrage that lit up space like a new star. Plasma cannons, particle beams, quantum torpedoes, and gravitational disruptors all fired. At once, the combined attack carried enough energy to crack a planet's crust, to boil away oceans, to turn mountains into glass. The weapons converged on the tiny human ship, a storm of destruction that nothing in the galaxy could survive. The Emperor watched with satisfaction as the alien vessel disappeared in a brilliant explosion of light and energy. "Target destroyed," reported the tactical officer. "No trace of the enemy vessel remains." Emperor Draxus allowed himself a smile of triumph. The alien ship had been impressive, but ultimately no match for the Empire's superior firepower. The threat to his rule had been eliminated. "Your Majesty," the sensor officer called out nervously, "I'm detecting an energy signature directly ahead of our formation." The main view screen shifted to show empty space. Then, like a ghost emerging from another dimension, the human ship materialized. It hung in the void exactly where it had been before the attack, completely undamaged. "Impossible," Emperor Draxus whispered. "Nothing could survive that barrage." The communications system crackled to life, carrying the voice of the alien captain across space. "Emperor Draxus, this is Captain Vasquez. Your fleet just fired on a diplomatic vessel. In human culture, that's considered an act of war. How are you still alive?" The Emperor demanded, "Because we understand something your empire never learned. Reality has more layers than you can perceive. Your weapons can't destroy what exists in a different phase of space-time." Elena turned to her crew, her voice carrying across the bridge. "They've made." Elena nodded grimly. The Prometheus was more than just a starship. It was humanity's attempt to build a vessel that could challenge the fundamental laws of physics. Earth scientists had spent 50 years developing technology based on quantum mechanics and dimensional theory, creating weapons and defenses that existed outside normal spacetime. "Target their command ship," Elena ordered. "Full power." The Prometheus fired a weapon that defied everything the Corvanian Empire knew about warfare. A beam of pure quantum energy lanced across space, existing in 11 dimensions simultaneously. It struck the Eternal Dominion's shields with the force of a collapsing universe. The Emperor's flagship was the most heavily defended vessel in the galaxy. Its shields had stopped asteroids traveling at near light speed, had deflected the combined firepower of rebel fleets, had survived the detonation of nuclear weapons at point-blank range. The quantum beam punched through them like they were made of paper. The weapon continued through the ship's hull, breaking down molecular bonds and disrupting the fundamental forces that held matter together. In the space of 3 seconds, the Eternal Dominion simply ceased to exist. The massive vessel, symbol of the Empire's invincibility, became a cloud of subatomic particles. Emperor Draxus had one moment to understand what was happening. One moment to realize that his 2,500-year-old empire was facing its first real defeat. One moment to comprehend that the galaxy was about to change forever. Then he was gone, scattered across space along with his flagship. The core fleet hung in stunned silence. Their most powerful vessel, protected by the strongest defenses in the galaxy, had been destroyed by a single shot from an enemy they couldn't even hurt. The psychological impact was devastating. For the first time in 2,500 years, the Empire's military was afraid. "This is Captain Vasquez," Elena announced to the alien fleet. "Your Emperor is dead. Your most powerful ship is destroyed. But I'm not here to conquer your empire. I'm here to offer you something better." Fleet Commander Vexstar, now the senior officer of the core fleet, stared at the debris field where the Eternal Dominion had been. His mind struggled to process what he had witnessed. The human weapon had violated every law of physics he knew. "What do you want?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I want you to listen," Elena replied. "For 2,500 years, your empire has ruled through fear and conquest. You've crushed species that could have been your allies, destroyed civilizations that could have enriched your culture. That ends now." Elena paused, letting her words sink in. "Humanity offers you a choice. You can continue the Empire's legacy of tyranny, and we will stop you. Or you can join us in building something better. A galactic confederation based on cooperation, instead of domination." The alien fleet commander looked around his bridge, seeing the fear and confusion in his officers' eyes. They had been raised to believe in the Empire's invincibility, had built their entire worldview around Corvanian supremacy. Now that foundation was crumbling. "And if we refuse?" Vexstar asked. "Then you'll share your Emperor's fate," Elena replied. "Simply, but I'm hoping you're smarter than that." The transmission ended, leaving the core fleet in tense silence. On dozens of ships, alien officers debated their options. Some called for continued resistance, demanding revenge for their fallen emperor. Others argued for negotiation, recognizing that their outdated weapons were useless against human technology. The debate was settled when reports began flooding in from across the Empire. On world after world, subject species were rising in rebellion. The news of the Emperor's death had spread faster than light, carried by quantum communication networks that the Empire had never secured. The Zalarian Liberation Front had seized control of 3 star systems. The Aquatic Collective had declared independence from imperial rule. The silicon-based species of the crystalline worlds had formed their own government. Everywhere, the Empire's subject peoples were throwing off their chains. "Sir, Vexstars," communications officer reported, "we're receiving surrender requests from 17 different species. They want to join this galactic confederation the humans mentioned." Vextar stared at the tactical display, watching as his empire crumbled. In real time, the Corvanian military was scattered across 15 star systems, dealing with rebellions and independence movements. The core fleet was the only organized force left, and they were facing an enemy they couldn't defeat. "Signal the human ship," he ordered. "Tell them we want to negotiate." Captain Vasquez received the transmission with a mixture of relief and sadness. She had hoped to avoid further bloodshed, but she knew that some conflicts could only be resolved through strength. "Dr. Mitchell, establish a diplomatic channel," she ordered. "Let's see if we can build something better from the ashes of this empire." The negotiations lasted for 3 days. Elena and her crew worked tirelessly to establish the framework for a new galactic order. The Corvanian Empire would be dissolved, its military forces restructured into a peacekeeping organization. The subject species would be granted full independence, with the option to join a voluntary confederation based on mutual respect and cooperation. It wouldn't be easy. Thousands of years of imperial rule had created deep-seated hatreds and cultural divisions. But for the first time in millennia, there was hope for a better future. Commander Jake Chun stood beside Elena on the bridge of the Prometheus, watching as the former Imperial fleet began dispersing to their home worlds. "Captain, do you think it will work? This Confederation idea?" Elena considered the question carefully. "I don't know, Jake, but I know that the alternative is worse. If we hadn't stopped the Empire here, they would have reached Earth eventually. They would have destroyed everything we hold dear." She turned to face her crew, seeing the exhaustion and pride in their faces. "We came here to explore the galaxy, to make contact with other species. Instead, we found an empire built on the suffering of others. We had to make a choice, and we chose to fight for something better." The Prometheus began its journey back to Earth, carrying news that would change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. They had made first contact not with a peaceful civilization, but with a tyrannical empire. They had been forced to fight, to prove that humans would not bow to alien tyranny. But they had also shown that humanity was capable of building something better. The Galactic Confederation was just an idea now, a hope for a future where species could cooperate instead of dominate. It would take decades to build, centuries to perfect, but it was a start dot as the Prometheus jumped into hyperspace. Leaving the ruins of the Corvanian Empire behind, Alaine Vasquez allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Humanity had passed its first test on the galactic stage. They had proven that they could defend themselves against impossible odds, that they could stand up to tyrants and bullies. More importantly, they had shown that they could offer something better than conquest and domination. They had offered hope. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of the Corvanian Empire was over. The age of the Galactic Confederation was about to begin. And at the center of it all, a single human ship had changed the course of history with courage, determination, and the unwavering belief that there was always a better way. Asterisk.